along to our final panel of the evening. So how to deliver representation and inclusion through our partnerships and teams. And we've got a fantastic lineup of panelists. So we're going to be hearing from them in a second. So let's get started and get them introduced to you all. First of all, Isabel Massey, Global Media Director at Diageo. Hi, Isabel. One of the leaders also at Global Alliance for Responsible Media. So really clear on the need for conscious media investment, and also one of our judges for this year's awards. So thanks ever so much, Isabel, and welcome along. Next up, we have Polly Shute, co-founder of Out and About LGBTQ, and also sat on the board of Pride in London for 4 years. And she brings with her a wealth of knowledge and media perspective from her time at Diva magazine as well. So thanks for being here and welcome along, Polly. And last but not least, we've heard from them already this evening, and congratulations again to you both, Josh and Victoria. So Josh, ECD at Gay Times, and Victoria, Portfolio Director for Skittles at Mars Wrigley. So congratulations once again to you two. And I'm going to throw the first question your way, actually, if I may. A really deserving campaign, I have to say, and I'm really keen to hear from your point of view. What's the secret, do you think, of your collaboration and getting to such great results? So perhaps a little bit about what's worked well from both sort of client and agency perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to respond to this question, just as a bit of context, I think what's worth saying is that Skittles is very much an advocate for the LGBTQ plus community, and this means we believe in providing a spotlight and support for the community and help, drive visibility to help with acceptance. And this means that clearly we have believed for the last 6 years that we want to give our rainbow for the one rainbow that matters during Pride. And we believe also that it means more than just removing the colours from our packs. And I think in this context, our partnership with Gay Times has really gone from strength to strength. In the last couple of years, we've been working together. And I think the secret of our really strong collaboration sort of is twofold, I guess. I think the first one is the really true nature of the collaboration and the importance of this partnership itself. It is about building something together, something that has true meaning for the audience that we're trying to reach, and something where our brand can add value and provide a platform for support. So I think that's sort of the first one. And the second one is very much sort of the listening and the trust. And the partnership we've established with Gay Times and with Josh specifically, but also with our agency partners, so Mediacom and DDB, and our charity partners, Switchboard and Queer Britain, to get to the outcome that we have today, which we really wanted as authentic and meaningful as possible.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, our partnership with Skittles is quite unique in that very often we're briefed towards the end of the funnel. So it's a media partnership to amplify an existing campaign. Whereas specifically with Skittles, we were invited in to consult on the briefing process before it even reached the creatable media agencies. I think with Victoria and the Skittles team, we asked difficult questions and we really probed the brand on why they are in the LGBTQ space. And I think that's definitely part of the success, because the right people were in the room at the start of the ideation and at the start of the partnership.
That's great to hear from you both. And it's really clear, it comes through in the work as well, just how deep and authentic that partnership really is. And it's great to hear you talking about the sort of importance of listening and collaboration in that respect. It's something that's I certainly believe in too. So great to hear from you both, and congratulations again. Isabel, I'm going to throw to you. Now, media isn't always something we necessarily think about when we're talking about diversity and inclusion, but I know Diageo have been a real champion for this, both individually, but also part of the WFA, as Jerry was saying. How do you think brands should be thinking about inclusivity in their media?
Well, first of all, big shout out to the Diageo Rainbow Network. I know everyone's listening in, and thank you so much for all your support and everything that you do to help make our marketing more inclusive and diverse. I think media and partnerships within media are vitally important to making sure that we are representing not just the world today, but the world that we want to create tomorrow. And partnerships fundamentally are all about people. So working with people who are talented, who are expert in their field, so that you can authentically connect with people, and do that in as effective a way as possible. And for me, when I look at our work, I see that these partnerships in media happen brilliantly when they are local, when they are really rooted in local culture, and not just reflect society as we see it in that culture, but think about how we want to shape that society going forward. Because as advertisers, as you've heard from many panelists already, we have the power to do just that. So an example that springs to mind for me of the work that we're doing, and something I'm so proud of, is some work going over to a country you might not be expecting me to go over to, which is Kenya. So in Kenya, we formed a partnership with a journalist called Bika Zulu, and we created a talk show. So a talk show is called The Singleton Stories, and it's a way of bringing human stories from across Kenya to people, so stories that people might not have heard. And as one of those stories, we partnered with someone called Chris Mckenna, and Chris Mckenna, they started a LGBTQ plus advocacy and rights group in Kenya. And they came to tell their story. So you might think this is not an unusual story so far, sounds very simple, brought them onto the talk show. So wait for me to tell you, in Kenya, homosexuality, it's still a taboo, and the laws, the constitution, the penal code are all quite complex and confusing to navigate through. So for us to do this activity, we had to bring on a gender and human rights expert to be able to navigate through that and bring this talk show to life. Now, alongside that, just when we were about to launch, the TV show we were launching it with, unfortunately, they pulled out. So we had to go to a plan B, find another partner to work with, someone who was supportive of this, and managed to achieve the same level of reach that we would have done by using that other TV show, plus YouTube, plus social. So for us, that is the kind of activity really rooted in media, but driving a cause that I'm so, so proud of. So when I talk about media and what we can do with partnerships, I would use that example as the kind of thing that I'd love to see more of.
That is amazing as well, really powerful, and demonstrates what a massive commitment as well in the face of those challenges, and quite rightly so. Brilliant. Polly, you've had your own experiences at Diva, and now, I guess, from a different perspective, but out and about LGBTQ. What have you learned about what makes a great partnership, and how can organisations like yours help brands, I suppose, more authentically connect?
Well, I think for me, I've focused, particularly since my prior experience, more on a subsection of the LGBT market, which is women. That sounds nuts, isn't it, to say a subsection, because it's probably half. But I did this for a couple of reasons. One, I didn't come out until I was 41 years old, because I didn't see enough visibility of, or positive visibility of lesbians or LGBTQ women. And secondly, I just got kind of frustrated at Pride and with Pride events that they seem to be pretty much targeted, developed by queer men for queer men. So my focus has been, how do brands work with organizations like mine and organizations like Diva and other media partnerships to try and reflect different parts of the LGBT community? Because I think often people think of us as just one amorphous community, and we're not. So a lot of what I've tried to do with brands, I think, is more about understanding and engagement first, and then commercial value second. So it's helping them understand what are the motivations and the needs of LGBTQ women, particularly for media brands, and how that helps them understand where they might advertise, because there aren't a lot of targeted LGBTQ media. There is Diva magazine, but there isn't a lot else, and women don't consume LGBT media in the same way as men. So it's been more around understanding their interests. So when I was at Diva, for example, we worked with Kantar and did some market research that said women wanted to be connected through shared interests. So, for example, one of the areas that we've worked on with brands is understanding what those shared interests are, what are the kind of interests and experiences that women, LGBTQ women, like, and therefore what media partners are going to best represent those. So it's not just as simplistic as finding a LGBTQ media title. It's about looking at interests. And then if you're focusing, for example, on outdoors, and a lot of women, queer women, over-index in outdoors and sport. It's how you can get into those titles and understand within those there's going to be a community of LGBTQ women or bi-curious women that want to that you can target through there. So I think for me, part of it is all about understanding that market and its motivations and realizing that actually it's not just about being queer. It's about the interests that you have as a person that are, you know, obviously you've got your queerness, but actually a lot of what we do at Out and About is we target people through their interests. So we put on supper clubs, we do wellness events, and it's pretty much targeting women who are interested in those areas, but also want to go to events where they can connect with others, either for friendship or for relationship. So I think sometimes it can be quite a simple answer to put advertising in an LGBTQ title, but you may not get the right people.
Like you say, moving beyond that sort of, I guess, a one-dimensional approach, and actually really understanding who it is you're talking to.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you know, relatable role models rather than this sort of one-dimensional approach, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks very much. I'm slightly conscious of time, so I'm going to move straight on to Josh. And I know that the Skittles campaign also partnered with Switchboard LGBT, and I've seen the work you've done with GSK Voltarol brand and the charity Pride Sport. I'm keen to understand, what role do you think charity partnerships play in LGBT marketing, and is that something that advertisers, you know, have to have in order to speak to the community?
I think charities and brands and LGBTQ campaigns are often an interesting space, because often I see quite a lot of bad work that is almost badged with a charity partnership. And I think if anybody wants to pursue a charity partnership, they should do it with really pure intentions, and they should think about, why is this charity being selected? How can the campaign support the charity? How can the wider business support the charity? And I think in the context of Skittles specifically, so I think it's the 4th year now with Switchboard, so the 4th year that Skittles has made the donation to Switchboard. And I think one of the most magical parts of the Switchboard and Skittles collaboration was during lockdown. So Switchboard have been around for the past 4 decades. And during COVID, obviously the contact center had to close. And during that time, volunteers had to start taking calls from home for the very first time. And naturally, there was a huge surge in phone calls to the helpline, and the support from Skittles allowed Switchboard to reach more people during that time. Our partnership was specifically around trying to help the LGBTQ community during lockdown understand and realize that there was somebody they could speak to, somebody that could support them at the end of a phone line or at the end of instant message. So from a partnership perspective, it was so much more than just a monetary donation. It was actually helping Switchboard in their hour of need and in the community's hour of need. And I think that was a really special collaboration that we were able to establish in 2020. And then in the context of Voltarol and Gay Times, so again, Voltarol make a huge donation to Pride Sports every year. Our partnership is all around how we can amplify the work of Pride Sports and really communicate that there are LGBTQ teams across the country that you can access free of charge, and you can find your own communities who have similar interests. But again, what's really special from a GSK perspective is that it lives beyond the partnership. So we focus on storytelling, but from an internal GSK perspective, their D&I network host regular events with the team at Pride Sports. They look at how they can perhaps skill share and pass on some of the skills within the business to Pride Sports to help them reach more people. And I really think, obviously, brands have the power to make huge donations, and we should never discourage charity donations. But I think we should always challenge brands to do the right thing and perhaps just think about it in a bit more of a compelling way.
Yeah. Thank you. And once again, there's a bit of a theme coming through. It's that depth of consideration, I think, that's really important. You know, that it's not just badged in a sense, that actually there's deeper meaning to it, and that it's offering a real service. Thank you. Victoria, to you now. Two of my favorite things about the Skittles work. Well, firstly, just how consistent you've been over several years, as you talked about, but also how well that sort of One Rainbow Matters campaign is pulled right through from comms into products and in store. What's your advice to other brands trying to dip their toe in the water?
Yeah, thank you. I think, as you say, consistency has been really important for us. And the Give the Rainbow campaign is one that has definitely evolved over time and grown to become, at the heart of our brand strategy, which is all about driving individuality and also inclusivity, which are also very much linked to our total business, Mars values and the way we do business. So I think that's something also that has helped to carry the campaign year on year. And I guess from a brand perspective, I guess my advice is very much linked to the learnings that we've gathered along the years. And I'd say the first one is be true to your brand, and the authentic fit with the brand is something that is really crucial. The second one is listen to the experts. I think be willing to learn and to listen is something that also is very important. The third one is think beyond the activity itself and how it fits with the brand strategy and the organization goals, and that element of also think about how you're giving back. It's not about being tokenistic. It's not about a one-sided campaign. How can you, build for the future and have that sort of two-sided campaign? And the final one is probably be willing to learn and tweak on the go, as we are in an ever evolving environment. And I think, be prepared to have those really honest conversation about what's working and what isn't, is something that was also very, very crucial.
I really like that. I particularly like the way you're talking about an openness and willingness to learn and listen to one another in order to take on those kind of those learnings, I suppose, to educate yourself as well. I can see that I'm someone's starting to slide on, but as I start to wrap up, quick from our point of view, I suppose, from a learning and development point of view. Now, obviously, I'm really passionate about that as a subject, not least with my advertising hat on, but also in my day job as a coach and with the work that we do through Common Good Company. To my mind, there's a lot more companies can be doing by way of supporting and developing their internal teams. And I think that the same is true when it comes to inclusion and representation. We're on now our third year with advertising mentoring program. So we've trained and matched hundreds of pairings now. And it never get old seeing the benefit of those sorts of partnerships, not least, not just, I should say, for the mentees, but also the mentors. I think it's really a learning experience. Some of those mentors are also straight allies, so there's a real job being done. I think these partnerships play a really powerful role in raising awareness of oneself, but also educating and building confidence for people who might not necessarily have the access to kind of relatable role models, as we were saying earlier on. And it's the same reason that we continue to train, through active ally training and role model training. Now, I think I'm being ushered on. There are more questions I want to ask, but I can see Jerry sort of pointing at me in the background. So I'm really sorry. We're going to have to cut it short at this point. But thanks ever so much to all of you for being here. Thanks ever so much for the work that you're doing and for the views that you shared this evening. With that, I'm going to hand back to Jerry.